coming. Do I need a microphone?
Joe's not here.
Can you hear me?
He's getting chairs.
You
We
got it.
want to hold off on the chairs.
Okay, thank you very much.
They're getting chairs.
Dr. Schenker needs another 3 minutes. He's bringing a few more chairs.
Okay, so if you'll bear with me, bear with us. I want to thank you for coming here this evening for the fact-finding and public hearing on the determination of public need for the new ambulance service. Now, shall we say Devorah? Shall we say Ezras Nashim? What's our preferred nomenclature?
Ezras Nashim, please.
Ezras Nashim. Okay. I'm giving more long vowels than I should. I apologize.
Jerry, this way the camera guy gets my better side.
All right, so I'm going to be respectful of everyone's time here tonight and thankful for the very strong showing community-wise and professionally of people who are interested in the EMS community. I want to thank the Regional EMS Council for being so accommodating to everyone's needs. I hope my needs have been accommodated. I want to say personally thank you to Marie for giving me the opportunity to do this. Some people have offered me condolences for being here tonight. I don't know why they would say that. I think it's very exciting. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an intro into myself. I am not a member of your community, but I am a member of your community. I am not Jewish, however, I am an EMT. I have been an EMT since 1996. I shortchanged myself. I've been a member of the volunteer EMS community. Volunteered with a group in my community in Glendale, Queens for a period, very short period, very intense period, and it was very educational. I volunteered for much longer periods with the Central Park Medical Unit in Manhattan. I am thrilled to be here because it brings together two very important parts of my life. I've been an attorney for a number of years, though my professional days are usually spent with sixth graders, teaching them math. And as I said, teaching math is a foreign language. But being a lawyer and working within EMS is bringing together things that I think are very, very important. I think that we all will acknowledge that whatever our feelings on the application, pro or con, I think we're all here in a spirit of how can we help our community? And we may have different viewpoints. I will tell you what I tell my sixth graders. Whatever you say with respect. Don't make it personal. Let's talk about the facts. And I am very gratified in having some general discussions with two attorneys. You know, some people think that's not such a good thing. It's nice. I get to talk with attorneys. Not that often, but the two attorneys that I spoke with here tonight, Mr. Deering and Mr. Reisner, have been very accommodating with each other, very civil, and I want to thank them in advance as well. I definitely want to say thank you to the Regional EMS Council's Ambulance Committee for their advice and their assistance and their presence here tonight. Would you like to identify yourselves for the record, just so that, especially, I want to say thank you to Daniel, our stenographer, so he gets an idea of who you are. Could we identify ourselves at the table here?
Scott Orlansky.
Gerald Gelbart.
James Downey.
Dominic Battinelli.
Joseph Marcelino.
Dove Jacob.
Nancy Benedetto.
Joseph Schenker.
All right, and I'll do a better job passing around the baton to the next person in the relay race. The order that we're going to do is kind of set forward, and let me just talk a little bit about what we're going to do. We'll do a little bit of preliminary stuff over here first. The application for a new ambulance is something which is counterintuitive. It doesn't necessarily make sense. So for those who are not necessarily in tune with this, and that includes most people, it would seem to make sense that an ambulance, another ambulance, squad or ambulances period, is a welcome thing. It would be great to have more ambulances, more assistance, less people in distress, saving lives. That's what EMS is about. The New York State law has very specific protocols that establish what you need to do to allow a new ambulance service to come into being. That process is known as certificate of need. There's a process where you need to show that whatever is here, I'm going to use the vernacular, just ain't enough. It's not good enough. We need to show why whatever is here now is not sufficient. And again, I'm coming from a standpoint with ambulances, volunteer ambulances. That's not the hat that I'm wearing. I have to go and follow what the state protocol and what the regional EMS protocol is there, and what it says, and what has to be proven by the applicant. So the applicant, Ezras Nashim, needs to show more than 50% that it is, and it has satisfied the state rules for a new ambulance, and that's all it's all set out in section 3008 in the New York State Public Health Law. And I'm not making judgments on this. I'm your host. I get to ask questions. I'm not making determinations yet. After you're all done, I'm going to have a 10-day period to kind of scratch my head and make somebody very unhappy. Well, a lot of people are very unhappy, and a lot of people are very happy, one way, shape, or form. Please don't hate the messenger. I'm going to do the best that I can. I feel very bad for the umpires at the World Series tonight in Game 7 because this guy who doesn't have much luck in hitting home runs in softball is feeling the same pain that they have. I'm going to rely on Marie for telling me how much time members of the community have. We've generally had discussions with the two counsel for the pro and the con, the applicant and the opposition, as to who we're going to go forward. But we have a couple little things over here. So I would not call this dirty laundry, but just procedural issues. So an issue came forward, and I'm going to speak to the two gentlemen and Ms. Marie Diglio, if I'm incorrect, that the applicant Ezras Nashim has submitted a PowerPoint, and copies of which I have here, and which I have embargoed for the time being. It was submitted within within the last 5 days. And there is concern, I want you guys to correct me, but let me just get what I'm at. So there's a concern whether this, because it was received within the last 5 days, and that may be subject to correction, because I didn't receive it, but the regional council did, whether it can be part of the record of proceedings, or part of the application, or how this can be addressed, if at all. And I'd like to hear from, I think since it was submitted, I'm going to ask that the opposition be heard first, if you would, and if there's any correction in what I said so far. So Mr. Reiser, could you speak to your concern, and feel free to take the mic unless you're voluble.
Yes, sir, Officer Short, thank you for that introduction. My name is Jeff Reisner. I'm here on behalf of Trevor Anzola. And I do take issue with the submission of the PowerPoint at issue. I do not believe it is properly part of the record, and I believe that it should not be referenced or viewed by the public or seen or factored into the analysis by the Ambulance Committee or the REMSCO or yourself here in Officer Short for the following reasons. It has been submitted that it is merely a summary of the application. Having now had an opportunity to review the PowerPoint, I take issue with that characterization. I believe that it is much more than that, because I believe that what it does is it embellishes a number of the irrelevant and misleading aspects of the application while ignoring a great deal of the data that this process and this public hearing are designed to review. Specifically, on page 3 of the PowerPoint, there are various underlined words. Those underlines speak to facts that are stated in the application, but they embellish those facts. One of those facts is that the application seeks to only place one new ambulance in the community of Borough Park. That is in and of itself a disingenuous thing when it is considered in the context of the CON process and the laws and procedures that need to be followed with respect to gaining an ambulance license versus the expansion of ambulance services in New York City and the rest of New York State. It is genuinely difficult to comprehend how the service, as characterized in the application, could be carried out with one ambulance. I believe that it's disingenuous. I believe it is a misrepresentation of the ultimate intent of the applicant. Similarly, I believe that the underlined word 2 on page 3, referring to the 2 square miles that comprise Borough Park, is disingenuous, because a simple review of Public Health Law Section 3010 shows that an ambulance service that is put into place to serve based on a religious need, which I believe, from all things contained in the application, is the essence of the applicant's application. I believe that they will take advantage of Section 3010, which allows them to then go into adjacent territories, most specifically Flatbush, which I think enhances the chances that this will not be carried out in the way that the application is setting it up. Additionally, and most important, I take issue with the underlined use of the word trauma on page 5 of the PowerPoint. The word trauma is inflammatory and it is unduly damaging to my client, Sheverhat Zola, and the good work that they do. It is a direct attack on them by stating that the women of the Orthodox Jewish community are suffering trauma by not respecting the primacy of life doctrine that has been blessed by 49 rabbis, and which has been submitted as Exhibit G to my opposition papers. And I do not believe that it is appropriate for these PowerPoints to be shown, and I think that they should be disregarded by the council and not analyzed in connection with their decisions here tonight.
Okay, Mr. Reiser, thank you very much. Mr. Deering, I assume that you may want to speak to the issue?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Do you need the microphone?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
So, my name is Jim Deering. I represent Ezras Nashim. The point, and I know my adversary didn't, it wasn't submitted late. Marie is here. She can tell you that it was submitted on time. That's not the issue. The concerns that were raised, I'll be honest, when you look at the PowerPoint, it's just a summary of certain information that's in the application, and it's a means to guide the discussion of the presentation with regard to the application. It's very standard for these types of presentations. The things that I heard were arguments about the merits of the application. I didn't hear that something in there in the PowerPoint is not in our application. Everything that's in that PowerPoint is in the application. It's explanatory, it hits the high points, and it summarizes or represents information from the application. And the fact that we're hitting high points and it doesn't hit every single point in the 180 pages of the application, I think that's a bit disingenuous. We could have a 180-page PowerPoint. Instead, we have a 10-page PowerPoint to hit the highlights. And This is just a non-issue, quite frankly.
If I could address just the timeliness issue, hearing officer.
Go ahead.
I don't contend that it was untimely with respect to the 5-day period for papers in support. My contention is that if the applicant wanted to include this as part and parcel of its application or presentation, it should have been submitted as an exhibit to the application in the first instance. That is the basis for my timeliness objection.
Okay. I'm going to give you my considered opinion, and I hope that I'm going to be as Solomonic as I possibly can, but who knows? I'm going to make a couple notes. The Department of Health has, at a request by the Regional Council, has stated, I'm going to read something from an email yesterday from Dana Jonas, who's Unit Chief, Operations Branch, and Dana Jonas is spelled D-A-N-A, last name J-O-N-A-S. And they are an EMT, and they are part of the New York State Department of Health up in Albany. And I'm going to give a piece of this email, which I'll be glad to share. It says, I have checked, Dear Marie, I have checked and determined that the department has not objected to public hearings in which the applicant provides a visual presentation or handout to summarize the content and purpose of their application. The hearing officer may mediate concerns by ensuring that the material does in fact either summarize the application or reintroduce, in quotes, details and information already submitted by the applicant in a fashion to improve the understanding of everyone attending the public hearing. I'm going to continue. It is important that no, quotes, new, end quotes, information is introduced by the applicant, and it is beneficial if the applicant also makes hard copies of such presentation, e.g. PowerPoint page printouts or the like, to be submitted so that the HO, hearing officer, can compile all submissions from the hearing. It goes on saying different instances when some sort of visual presentation happened. I'm not going to go into that at this point. So the timeliness doesn't seem to be there. I don't know that the 10 pages itself is so different. And again, with exception, I want to speak to the objections that are raised by Mr. Reisner. But I don't think it's so different that it could not be seen by some. I don't make the final decision, but could not be seen by some as being summarizing or reintroducing details already submitted by the applicant. I think can be seen. To the extent that, Mr. Reisner, that you have concerns over the idea of trauma, and that what you're identifying on page 5 is objectionable. I think that you are having and have had an opportunity to bring this forward, and that is something that I and the Ames Committee will have the ability to go examine, and I'll be sure to include that in my report. The same thing with regards to your identifying issues with the underline of one ambulance and then 2 square miles of borough park. I think that may be something which may, again, we are here for a public hearing. I think that may be helpful. It's very possible Mr. Deering might address it. He and or the people on behalf of the applicant may want to address it or not. I don't know. And you may want to address it further later on today. So, that being said, and I don't really mind going out on on large tree limbs that are very solid. I think this is a fairly solid tree limb where I'm not going to fall off. However, I am in a room full of EMTs and doctors, so if I fall, I feel well protected. So I am going to allow it as being informative, and I will note that it is not the application in chief. It is informative and maybe differing in some aspects, which may be cause for us to, discuss. Hey, what is the the range, what is the actual number of ambulances that we have. So I'm going to allow the PowerPoint. I have a stash. I want to say thank you to whoever made the copies, color no less. I'm going to pass them down over here. I'm going to pass them down over here. I think it's Halloween is happening one day earlier, but this is not candy. Does anyone, our ambulance committee members, in need, I assume, Mr. Deering, you have yours. Nancy, I'm going to give these to you.
Anyone else?
All right. So that being said, am I okay if I proceed without the microphone? In the back, are we okay? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Okay, thank you in the back.
Here, Marie, some extras.
All right. So, again, being respectful of everyone's time, a general hope is that we're out of here within a 2-hour period. I'm not sure when the clock started, but I'm going to be respectful and trying not to go on. Testimony, I'm going to ask people that are going to speak here tonight. I am not going to ask anyone to swear. I'm going to ask if anyone happens to want to speak, that they will say that they promise or affirm that they're going to tell the truth here tonight. I will ask anyone who speaks here tonight to identify themselves, especially for our purposes, to know who you are, and also to make sure that we have a record, and we need to make sure that we have our wonderful stenographer not driving the poor guy crazy. And just say again, thank you to Daniel. Can we give Daniel a round of applause for All right. I'm going to try and not ask a whole bunch of questions until I have to. I'm going to try and not interrupt folks. I sometimes serve as a volunteer, a small claims arbitrator, and sometimes I tell the people before me, I said, I don't want to, if I ask a question, I don't want you to think that I'm for you or against you. So I just want you to understand, if I ask a question, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm taking any position. I just want to find out, or I just might be curious. Well, let's put it this way. I am curious. Before I go, just so you know, I've mentioned I'm not a member of your religious community. I have, however, worked with 2 organizations, I'm going to call them. I worked for a nonprofit organization in one of my earlier bits of my legal career that helped resettle refugees who are Jewish from throughout the world. And that was very satisfying and very, very meaningful and very important to me. I also worked with a firm that had the main partners, wonderful people who happened to have been Orthodox. One of the partners in the firm was an EMT, is an EMT, and Michael and I happen to have even done calls in the office. We even had a poor client having a seizure. I think that was even before he got the bill. So I just want to have some acknowledgement and affinity that I do respect what Hatzolah, what Ezras Nashim is seeking to do. I think, again, we're all looking to try and see how can we help. And I think we need to keep that as our prison. I'm going to ask Mr. Deering to start and give his presentation. We're then going to be followed by Mr. Reisner. We're then going to have applicant people from Ezras Nashim to support. I think probably it's going to be Ms. Levine, Ms. Pomerantz, Ms. Husney, Ms. Spry, I hope I'm saying names right, and then we're going to be alternating community pro and con, for and against, supporting and opposition, and if there happens to be some sort of a reason to move things around, I hope you'll be patient with me. I'm doing the best I can, folks. Just please understand and stay with me. All right, Mr. Deering.
Oh, thanks. And hearing officer, there were some other witnesses of ours that you didn't mention, but just
Okay.
well, we can deal with that.
Okay.
When we go.
All right. Do you need the microphone?
Here's the microphone.
You got one over by you? Is this
Attached to
operating?
the bar.
It's right
Is this
there.
on?
Yeah.
Working good?
Great, thank you.